Hello and welcome to another video or episode, depending on where you're watching or listening. I did want to be outside for this, but after a couple of torrential downpours, I did have to give up on that. So I'm at the closest I can be, which is in the conservatory looking out into the back garden. So hopefully you'll still get your greenery fix if you're on YouTube. If I sound a little nasally and odd in this recording, well, that's because I'm sick. I have been for the last week and a half, but I thought it was something that we could maybe talk about. So it's been a busy, basically month and a half, culminating in the last 2 weeks or so. It's been I ran a homemade family camp and also attended the week 1 of the EQE Wilderness Therapeutic Training, all back to back. So I was pretty much arrived back home on the Sunday evening with a van full of kit, unpack everything, repack everything, leave 6:15 the following morning. And somewhere in that process, I caught a bug and I've been sick since. And that's probably because I ran my body down. But it's also been an interesting couple of months for other reasons. So I had my wedding and honeymoon, everything else. So I've actually spent a lot of time away from the woods and time off, which as a freelancer or self-employed person, that's really quite tricky because in terms of cash flow, I didn't really have any for a lot of that period. So a lot of the past few weeks have been completely unpaid, which is another challenge, which has also raised some interesting problems now. So the sector that I'm originally from, education, and well, it's basically a continuation of what I do now, has a culture towards illness where essentially if you're not coughing up blood, you are expected to come in, work through it, and be there for the children. The idea whenever I worked in schools was you only call in sick if it's absolutely necessary. And even then, people would still question you. There was this whole underlying ethos that you just need to tough through it, like cold's no problem, flu's no problem. If you're sick, you're sick, just come on in, work through it because you're needed and we can't cope without you. And to a less extent, I did also have that when I was working in shops and retail and whatever. There was that pressure not to be sick. And that was a struggle for me personally because the stress of my school placements when I was actually in school frequently made me sick. And I'd basically get sick at the start of term and I wouldn't get better until well after the end of that same term. So I was basically working through it all the time, or working while sick. Not what I'd recommend, and one of the big reasons why I left the profession and decided to kind of head outdoors, literally. And I've been quite lucky the past 2 years in that I haven't spent very much time sick. So it hasn't been much of a problem. It's just basically been, okay, well, 1-2 sick days a year, I can cover that. That's no problem. I'll just deal with losing a day or two of wages over this period as totally fine. And well, expenses are low. I'm doing okay. But when you're employed, you basically have a bit more of an option because you can take that sick day, you can take the sick pay, and you can just go, okay, well, I'm sick, sorry, can't come in today, that's your problem, you need to sort it all out, I'm out, see you in 2 days. It's rather different when you're running your own sessions and when you're pretty much a one-man band because there's no one to pick up the slack, there's no one to step in for you, and as soon as you stop working, you stop earning as well. And unless you've managed to get together funds to ensure you through that period, so if you've been very diligent and good about it, and you've taken a percentage of your wages and put it into a holiday and sick pay fund, then you're going to be a lot better. But if, like me, you've been pretty much working flat out and you've just managed to get through the winter and started building up small reserves before all of this hits, it's a difficult time. And you do have the whole conundrum. Okay, do I continue working, potentially increasing the amount of time that I'm sick and just work through it, and also have the risk of giving whatever illness or bug you have to the people who you're working with. Now, at this stage, I don't think it's contagious, so I'm not too worried. I'm not going to be doing any cooking, and I'm going to make sure to keep my distance. So socially distancing in the outdoors is a whole lot easier, and I'm not too worried about being in an enclosed space with lots of people and passing it on very easily. So with a couple of precautions, I reckon I could keep working through this. Or I could basically say, okay, you're sick, you need to get better. You're going to have to just take some time and then just see about making it work financially. You can see how not having that kind of savings in there immediately pushes you into a harsh position. Because if you had a holiday and sickness budget, then it would be pretty much, okay, yep, just send a quick message around to everyone. Sorry, session's cancelled tomorrow. I'll deal with all the admin when I get back, and I'm better. And then you just withdraw a little bit extra from that fund to make sure that you're flattening out that curve and you're just moving through to the next month. But as soon as you don't have that, you are in difficult positions, and there's only so much we can do to carry on going, because there's going to be times where you break a leg, you pull a muscle in your shoulder, you basically incapacitate yourself. And I'm speaking as much to myself as all of you listening and watching, that that's not a good place to be. You need to have a fund, and as I said, I'm speaking to myself here. This is something that I haven't done pretty well. I haven't done all that well recently, because when you have more money coming in, it's like a big, yeah, fantastic, I can finally pop some money in savings for whatever we need, or I can get that thing that we needed but we weren't able to get through, and I can shuffle it forward and move it onwards. But really, I think it's important to be intentional about that amount. And as I said, there's going to be times where you can't just work through it, and you've got to be prepared for that. You've got to start thinking about that. Is how can I ensure continuity for the business, and how can I maintain cash flow even if the key worker, you or me, is not feeling up to it and isn't able to carry on? Because the other thing is, I've seen carrying on working while sick really damage people, like cause real long-term health problems. If you're sick because you're stressed and run down, the last thing you need to be doing is carrying on with exactly the same thing that you're doing and just trying to push through it even more. You need time to rest and recuperate, and unless you have that buffer, you're going to struggle. So there we go. I'm going to keep it quite short. We're going on for 9 minutes or so. So say, learn from my mistakes. Alongside me, let's try and do better and make sure that we are set up with that cash flow and those buffers, that we can take the time off when we need to take the time off, even when our partner's sick, or when we've got children that have problems. We need to basically have that fund available. There you go. So thank you so much for watching and listening. I should be back with regular scheduling in the near future. It has been a tricky month because I've been away a lot and spending a lot of time recuperating and learning and getting ready for the next couple of months. So there's a lot happening there. So hoping to keep going with at least a video a week for the next couple of weeks, and then we'll be back into our 2 video a week schedule, and hopefully you'll look forward to that. Thank you so much. Remember to make the most of every day, and I'll see you all next time.